Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from CS143, Class B, Semester 2, and we are from Group 3. So today we would like to present about the Chinese economy.
This is our group members. The first one, Muhammad Ali Fikmi bin Jasni. The second, Muhammad Amirul Haziq bin Abdul Latif. The third one, Firhan Azli bin Ahmad Khairul Anwar. And last but not least, Zulfadli bin Mukhtar. There have three parts in this presentation. The first part, introduction. In the introduction have Geographical of China, China's administration, and economic sector of China. The second part is issues. The first, problem of Chinese economic growth. The second, should we worry about strong of the Chinese economy? The third, Chinese growth and cost of growth. The fourth, Chinese interest rate. And the last, current status of inflation and unemployment rate in China. And the last part in this presentation is conclusion of Chinese economy.
Geographical of China. China, formerly the People's Republic of China, PRC, is an East Asian country with a total size of 9,596,960 km square. They have over 1,300 million people. It makes China one of the most populous countries. China has great physical diversity. The eastern plains and southern coast of the country are made up of fertile lowlands and foothills. They are the location of most of China's agricultural production and population. The Jiangnan area is dominated by hills and mountains. The western and northern parts of the country are dominated by sunken basins such as the Gobi and Taklamakan, rolling plateaus and towering parcels. It contains part of the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, the highest plateau on Earth with much lower agricultural potential and population. China is one of the most powerful countries with the highest amount of fossil fuel materials. The largest oil field in the South China Sea, the Liuhua 111 oil field, is located 210 kilometers southeast of Hong Kong in the Pearl River Basin in southern China. It was discovered by Amoco in January 1987 and is now called BP. In Typhoon Alley, the depth of the water, the presence of heavy oil, and a very powerful bottom water impulse are technical challenges that must be solved before the oil can be extracted.
China's administration. Due to China's large population and geographical area, the administrative divisions of China have consisted of several levels since ancient times. The Constitution of China provides for 3 de jure levels of government. Since the 17th century, provincial boundaries in China have remained largely static. Currently, China is ruled by Communist Party of China (CPC) that is under one-party system empowered by 22 regions, 5 autonomy areas, 4 direct administered municipalities, which is Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing, and 2 special administrative areas that have high autonomy, which is Hong Kong and Macau. Capital of the People's Republic of China (PRC) is Beijing.
Economy sector of China. Economy sector of China was divided into 3 sectors. which are primary, secondary, and tertiary. The China primary sector involves plantations and acquiring raw materials. Common examples are oil extraction, farming, and fishing. The China secondary sector relates to the manufacturing and assembly process. Raw materials are transformed into components and assembled in the China secondary sector. Finally, there is the China tertiary sector, which relates to the commercial service like insurance, sales, and teaching. This Chinese primary, secondary, and tertiary industry sector support the production and distribution of goods. China is the second largest importer of goods and world's fastest growing consumer market. China became a member of the World Trade Organization in 2001. It also has free trade agreements with several nations, including ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Korea, and Switzerland. Meanwhile, the US, EU, Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea, India, Taiwan, Australia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brazil are China's largest trading partner. China positioned 14 on the Global Innovation Index and is the only middle-income economy, the lone recently industrialized economy, the lone rising country in the best 30. China is a country that positioned on number 1 worldwide in 8 utilities, models, brand names, modern plans, and innovative products rate that, and furthermore has 2 of the worldwide top 5 science and innovation bunches, which is Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, and Beijing. In the second and fourth spots period, it is more than some other country. Before the finish of April 2021, China's 5G clients had effectively outperformed 300.
For starters, let's accelerate credit growth. Associate General Economists Wei Yao and Claire Huang believe that much of the Chinese economy's growth is due to credit expansions. The Chinese government has adopted an accommodative monetary policy to shift from investment-based economy to consumption-based one and reverse the trend of slowing economic growth over the past 25 years. China's total debt has grown from 164 to 300% of gross domestic product (GDP) between 2008 and 2018. China has tried to boost demand by easing market entry restrictions for foreign investors by trying to reduce their loan offers, but they received only a small success. In addition, the currency is overvalued. China is also facing a currency crisis. By creating excessive debt and printing money, the People's Bank of China (PBOC) has created the largest stock of foreign exchange of any country and all of assets in the banking system. Aggressive monetary policy raised banking system assets to over 40 trillion by the end of the third quarter of 2019. The total asset of banking institutions in China increased by more than 200%. This contributed to the overvaluation of the yuan. China's total social finance (TSF) needs attention. The TFS reflects the solvency of the economy, loans from trust companies, sale of bonds, the inclusion of off-balance sheet financing including the IPO. China's TFS total outstanding amounted to 36.6 trillion at the end of December 2019, up to 10.7% year-on-year. This is indication that debt growth is accelerating thanks to China's shadow banking system. Plus, a sparkling real estate market. After losing $3.2 trillion in the 2015 Chinese stock market crash, the PBOC has been trying to encourage potential equity investors. Historically, the Chinese have invested less in financial market than in real estate compared to the US. The recent stock market crash has reinforced this trend. At the end of 2017, the average price per square foot of real estate in China was close to $202, nearly 14% higher than in the United States. Despite the fact that per capita income in the United States is $700 more than China in 2017. This housing data indicate that Chinese continue to invest in real estate for economic growth. Historically, real estate has been a major driver of economic growth in China and has accounted for the majority of China's gross domestic product. China's effort to keep price high and keep moving to float the housing market may have hurt other sectors of the country's economy. Housing price growth in China is expected to hit its lowest level in 5 years in 2020, growing only 3.1%. Policymakers have tightened their grip since 2015 for several years. Despite the lagging growth rate, housing prices continue to rise in all major cities.
So, we continue to the second issue, is should we worry about strength of the Chinese economy? So, surely the answer is yes. We should be worried about the strength of the Chinese economy because they were the first countries to get infected with the COVID-19, but they were able to recover in time to bring their production capacity back to life when the virus spread worldwide. Personal protective equipment, PPE, computers, and everything in between are in high demand. China has taken advantage of this situation to expand its economy. As a result, this helped fuel China's economic recovery in 2020 and keep it strong through 2021. As the world's other major economies end 2020 struggling with the coronavirus and figuring out how to keep the disease from spreading further. In 2020, China's economy grew by 2.3%. It is one of the things that can be impressive because China's overall growth is 2.3%. Gross domestic product GDP of China reached 6.8% in the first quarter, decreased 3.2% in the second quarter, rebound to 4.9% in the third quarter, and then ended the year with a 6.5% increase in the fourth quarter. In 2021, China's growth prospects are equal to high. China's growth will be 8.1% in 2021, according to the International Monetary Fund (IMF), much ahead of the United States, 5.1% and just behind India with a forecasted growth rate of 11.5%. Aside from its incredible growth, China has also surpassed the United States in terms of attracting foreign direct investment (FDI). Essentially, China has emerged from the coronavirus pandemic as powerful as it was when it first arrived and on a time frame that other large economies find incomprehensible. China is prepared to continue to grow from the position of economic strength, while the rest of the globe struggles to contain the COVID-19.
Chinese growth and cost of growth. China's growth rate has lowered since 2010 to 2019. In 2010, China recorded 10.6% growth. In 2011, the country recorded 9.6% growth rate. China states their growth rate in 2012 and 2013 are 7.9% and 7.8% respectively. In the next year, the growth rate decreased to 7.4%. In 2015, they recorded a 7.0% growth rate. In 2016, the growth rate was 6.8%. In 2017, the growth rate increased 1% compared to the year before. In the next year, the growth rate was decreased to 6.8% in 2018 and 6.1% in 2019. In 2019, growth totaled $22.5 trillion, the largest in the world. That's roughly 8% more than in 2018. After the government of China took their fast action to control the total number of COVID-19 cases, their economy is growing rapidly in October 2020. The production of the country is increasing steadily, the demands are recovering, job opportunities are increasing, price of product are fixed. The market expectations are good and the momentum of recovery is stable. The industrial production in China is also increasing rapidly in the middle of stability and high growth rate for equipment manufacture. Asset investment still increased to 1.8% within 10 months this year. Also, the unemployment rate in China decreased to 5.3% in October 2020 compared to 5.4% in September 2020. China succeeded in creating 10.09 million new job opportunities within the first 10 months in 2020. The number achieved the target earlier than the predicted before. However, the service sector and the smaller firms still face challenges, while consumer inflation was likely to remain moderate. National Bureau of Statistics spokeswoman Liu Aihua said, in 2020, the country's GDP expanded 2.3%, the slowest pace in more than 4 decades.
Chinese interest rate. Chinese authorities have traditionally relied primarily on administrative and quantitative measures when implementing monetary policy in which interest rates play a less important role. Additional support for this view lies in several previous studies that have found that interest rates have a minimal impact on the real economy. However, given the numerous reforms in the financial sector and the widespread reforms of the Chinese economy, interest rates have been slightly affected in the last few years. It is also important to study the effects of interest rates in the light of future reforms of China's monetary policy tools. While administrative policy measures were effective in guiding the behavior of state-owned enterprises, government need to increase the use of more market-oriented monetary policy tools as private and foreign-owned economic shares increase. Using the vector error correction model, we will study whether the impact of Chinese interest rates has been stronger over the last decade within the framework of credit demand. Our results suggest that interest rate channels to the real economy are still weak, but leading demand is actually more dependent on interest rate. Based on the figure, we can see that from 1992 to 1998, the interest rate is very high and slowly going down until 2010, that going static from 2010 to 2021.
China's annual inflation rate was 0.9% last year and has now risen to 1.3% in May 2021, versus a market forecast of 1.6%. This is the highest reading since September 2020. The cost of non-food commodities has risen faster, 1.6% versus 1.3% in April. Mainly transportation and communication, 5.5% versus 4.9%. Clothing, 0.4% versus 0.2%. Rent, fuel and utilities, 0.7% versus 0.4%. Health, 0.2% versus 0.1%. And education and culture, 1.5% versus 1.3%. In the first 4 months, food price rose 0.3% after falling 0.7% in April. On a monthly basis, the consumer price index fell 0.2% in May compared with a 0.3% drop in April, compared to a previous forecast of 0.1%. In 2019, the employment rate in the urban area of China will reach about 3.6%. The unemployment rate registered for the COVID-19 spread increased to 4.2% in 2020, according to preliminary figures released by official Chinese sources. In April 2021, the IMF expects the employment rate to recover below 4% in 2021. It can be seen from the existing statistics that China's employment rate has been stable at around 4% in the past few years. Part of the reason is that due to its socialist tradition, full employment policies have historically played an important role in the economic consideration of Chinese government. Another possibility explanation can be found in the index method, which, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, only collects employment data in urban area. The debate over whether to adapt the methodology to make the precise statistic picture is currently running among Chinese politicians and statisticians. One of the main concerns about the current unemployment situation in China is the large regional disparity. In 2019, the unemployment rate in northeast region of China was significantly higher than the southern region of China. In Beijing, the political and cultural center of China, the unemployment rate is just 1.3% in 2009.
In conclusion, the economic, social, and public health impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic is related to China's challenges. The COVID-19 outbreaks have caused an unusual economic shock in China and the global economy. Growth has moderated in the face of structural constraints, including declining labor force growth, lowering returns to investment, and slowing productivity over the past few years. The Chinese government has made innovation an important matter in its economic planning through a number of high-profile initiatives. This includes Made in China 2025. This is a plan that was announced in 2015 to upgrade and modernize China's manufacturing in 10 key sectors, to extensive government assistance in order to make China a big global player in these sectors. The economy of China is told to be changed to more advanced industrial development with low carbon dioxide emissions and better allocation of national resources to innovation and R&D for sustainable economic growth in order to reduce the impact of China's heavy industry.
That's all from us. Thank you for listening and watching this presentation. I take this opportunity to apologize if have any mistakes in this presentation.